Welcome to the L&D Explorers Podcast from GoSkills. On today's episode, we talk to Bill Raymond, an author, consultant, and the creator of Bill Talks AI. He joins us to talk about AI-powered course development. Bill and I discuss how he started using AI, the strategies he uses to produce high-quality course content and dramatically speed up production, and the advice he shares with other L&D professionals to get started on their AI journey. I'm Dan Gorgone, course producer for GoSkills. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to the L&D Explorers Podcast. I'm Dan Gorgone. I'm the course producer at GoSkills. And joining us for this episode is Bill Raymond. Bill is an author. He's a consultant. He's a podcaster. Formerly a Microsoft MVP. This guy knows Agile. He knows AI. He's a great friend of GoSkills. He's done a couple courses for us. So, Bill, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me here, Dan. I'm really looking forward to the conversation today.
Yeah, it was, this was something that actually came out of the new course that just launched on our site, From Prompt to Productivity with AI. That's a course that you pitched to us, and we were more than happy to get some additional AI content on our site. And don't worry, everyone watching, this is not, an advertisement for GoSkills, although certainly there's plenty of great courses that you could take, from AI to soft skills to Excel and project management and all kinds of things. But knowing Bill and seeing what he had to say in this course and all the great tips that he had to share, we really wanted to have this conversation with you because these are great tips for a lot of the instructional designers that are watching. Great tips for the different people who are trying to figure out those courses and learning programs for their teams out there. So, so I'm wondering, Bill, if you could start off, just kind of tell us about your background and how you went from, teaching and having an interest in a lot of the Microsoft projects, Microsoft project and Microsoft products, and how it brought you to AI.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting. I went to school hoping that I was going to be a software developer. And I was so excited about this possibility of creating apps and capabilities that my customers could use. And what I learned very quickly was that I'm not the best software developer. But I know the technology and I understand it. So a lot of times the software engineers would ask me to help them with planning out the next release cycle and things like that. And so that kind of got me interested. At the time, we called it project management and product marketing, before those roles really kind of became formalized and stabilized in these recent agile years. And a lot of what I had to do was essentially work with customers, identify their needs, and also work with the engineers to identify what the next, if you will, quarter would look like or what have you, so that we could build something out for them and build a project plan. And that's where project management came in. I moved into the IT space and started doing a lot of very large scale IT project management style projects. Got back into my love of product management again for some number of years. And recently, there was a thing called the pandemic that happened. And a lot of people were kind of sitting at home wondering, what's going to happen to my job? How do I change the way we work? We're going to be shifting everything on a dime. Well, over my years as a project manager, I started to shift into Agile. And Agile gave me this opportunity. It's something that I learned through working with software developers. And I thought, wow, you know what? All these great experts on Agile, they're probably sitting at home too. So I created a podcast called Agile in Action. And the more I started talking to them, the more AI and machine learning kept coming up. So I said, maybe I should get into that. And I did just prior to ChatGPT being released to the world. And I created myself an AI model and learned how to actually program one of these things. And it super helped me understand how AI works in the background. And Dan, we've worked together. There's one thing I always love to do is take whatever skill I've learned and teach it to other people. And that's kind of where I am today. That's why I have this Bill Talks AI newsletter, where I kind of converse on really complex topics in fun, lighthearted tones without jargon and without all the technical speak that comes with it, and without trying to push people and make them click something because, some one AI is dead and another one's alive. I'm really focusing on how you can be more productive.
It sounds like you were very natural in terms of adopting AI and jumping right in and building your models and kind of exploring everything. And I know that, I mean, we both know that a lot of people can be very overwhelmed, very cautious, maybe overly cautious about what AI can do. And certainly there are concerns that are valid, but in your work so far with the podcast and the newsletter, and all your work with AI, what kind of fears are you seeing? What are the concerns that you're hearing from people about AI that perhaps you can help them overcome? What are the main things that you hear?
Yeah, I think I could look at it in two different ways. And apologies up front. And to be clear, I'm going to count myself in the category of an older person for a moment because I am. But I do see some of my older colleagues that are of my age saying, I just don't want to use this technology. It seems very intrusive, and I'm not sure if I can trust it. And therefore, I'm going to step back and not use it. But here's the thing. There's a new generation of people coming into the workplace who use this to be productive every day. And so they're now your competition. So I would say, kind of get over that. Now, that's one of them, and that's real. And I have that conversation nearly every day. And then there's the other one, which is another conversation that happens even more frequently, which is I am encountering a situation where maybe I should use AI, but I don't know how to. And so you need to get that muscle memory of when do you use AI? How do you use AI? And the thing is that don't let that little prompt box scare you. You're not scared to search for a topic in Google, and that's just a text box. So go to the other text box instead and type it in there and see what happens. And you might be surprised and you might find that maybe there's a lot more going on than you might think. So it's building that muscle memory of knowing what AI is really useful for and then leaning on it as much as you can without removing your own authentic voice.
That's really great advice, and I think it leads right into the topic that we wanted to talk to you
Mm-hmm.
about, the focus of this episode, which is AI-powered course development. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that certainly speaks to my heart, as well as I think many of the people who are watching this, people who have developed courses before, they've spent hours, days, weeks, months building courses, not just the course programs and plans for multiple courses. We're talking about one course, and we know how long that takes. We know the amount of effort that goes into it. AI has really been a game changer. And
Mm-hmm.
we can both admit, many people can admit that, and with experience, with direct experience. Um, Tell us about what was your course development process before using AI, and where are you using it now?
Yeah, well, what's interesting is, of course, I have my own training courses that I do live with my customers. Some even ask me to customize it just for their company. Some of them are public speaking more engagements, and then there's the pre-recorded ones. And those, for example, are the CBTs, the computer-based training programs that are on GoSkills, for example. And one of the things that I try very hard to do is provide a similar structure because I've learned the structure that is needed over, just experience, right? After a while, you're teaching these things and you get, oh, here's where I need to start. And then here's kind of where we get to the middle. And then here's where we get a little bit more advanced, but I still want you to be able to take it all in. So those are things that you learn as a human being interacting with other human beings. And so that's how I kind of do my modules. And I will teach a course for free to a group of people and just ask them what to change. Their job is to tell me really honestly what I should and should not be doing. And AI can help with that, but I think it's also in the delivery and all that. So that's important. So when I'm doing these training courses, though, they need to be unique. The structure can be the same, but the content needs to be unique. For example, you don't want to take my course that I might do live and then say, I'd love to take Bill's GoSkills course and see exactly the same content. You want to keep learning. You want to keep learning new things. And so what I've learned is that creating that pitch, that initial here's what I want to sell, here's my target audience. That's super important that I write that myself. And that's something that I begin with always. I do not let AI write that because if I do, then what I've allowed myself mentally to do is kind of check out and allow it to kind of go through all the motions for me. And then at some point, maybe I realize it didn't recommend the best direction for my audience. So what I do is I create it first. And then after I create that content and I've defined it, then I run it through AI. And there's these new things that are called reasoning models, which will really take a deep, insightful look into your content and say, here are some other things that you might want to consider. Here are some other target audience members that maybe you hadn't thought about. Here are some ways to think about this content to even make it more interactive for you, the people taking your course. So that's the first step. And I think I'll take a pause there before we get into the further steps. And for anyone that is interested in learning development, I'm following this thing called the ADDIE process. And so that's the first letter A, which is analysis. And that I think is one of the most important areas where you really put your time and effort in, and then let AI kind of analyze it and give you recommendations back.
It sounds perfect because the defining the audience, defining the scope of the course by personally understanding the topics, the outcomes, the questions that are going to be asked by the audience, but then also understanding that audience. That's something you have to understand, you and your organization, if you're part of an organization. You have to understand it, and this is right. This is the right way too, because now, from what I've seen with the most recent AI models, they will ask those questions.
Hmm.
If you say, "I want to build a course about XYZ," it more often than not will not just jump right into it. I mean, it might give you some suggestions and things, but it will ask questions. It
Hmm.
knows it's smart enough now to ask questions. Well, who is the course for, and what sort of level you're looking at? Beginner, intermediate, expert. What kind of tools would you like to focus on? It starts asking all the questions that an instructional designer should be asking themselves.
Hmm.
So I think that laying that foundation and then being able to provide it to the AI uh, is healthy for you, but it's also going to be very productive for the AI to then take the ball and run from there. And something that you have said, and this is another thing that you mentioned in your course, but I know, just looking at LinkedIn, I know that you have been spreading the word about this, that using AI as a course development tool has saved you, you say, up to 70% in
Hmm.
development time. Having done some of this myself, I'd say you're probably right. Can you tell us about what you saved there? Like, how did
Yeah.
it save the time? What are the steps where it really was most valuable? And what did you do with the time savings? Because that's what I really want to know.
Yeah, well, I mean, uh, I think I'll start with what I did with the time savings. It's giving me more time to advertise what I've done. It's giving me more time to market it. And if I can do that for even your course or my courses, that gives me a larger audience, which turns into more money for all of us, quite frankly, right?
Hmm.
So time is money, and that's how I'm looking at it. Now, people might be thinking that are listening to this podcast that I'm using some sort of AI tool that is sort of my virtual me, and that's how I did it. No, I've seen those tools. They're great. I think they're great for little shorts and quick little 30-minute video, 30-second videos, but no one wants to go down that rabbit hole of watching an AI human try an AI fake human teach you for 2 hours, right? So what I focus on are a few things, and this is really important, and this is where the big time savings are. I think one of the most important things here is that when you're creating your little modules, because like with GoSkills and same with any other kind of course, you want to teach in small bites. And so why not come up with a few ideas and then just ask AI to hash it out for you and help you write the script. And you collaborate with it to get that script going. And then say, okay, all this looks great, but is this going to be like a 6-minute talk or a 20-minute talk? AI is smart enough to know how long just the number of words will take to come out of someone's mouth. So that's super important. I come up with the concepts of what I'm going to train, but then I also ask AI to kind of help me, if you will, really just get it right down to a manageable, trainable session. Now, that's of course getting that done. And so that saves a lot of time, by the way, especially if every single time you're creating a new course, you want to come up with a brand new video exercise. There's a lot of tax that goes on in your brain in order to come up with a unique exercise that gets the point across and is also something new. And then you have to try it, right? You have to go into AI and make sure that that looks good. All of that is planning work that has to happen, and it takes time. So the faster you can get that done, the better. So that's one of the things that I did try to focus on. The next piece is around the production of the video. And this is where I think if anyone takes anything away from this and still does everything manually, use AI-driven recording tools. Okay, so I'm sometimes reading from a script and my eyes are going back and forth. That can be very disruptive to someone that's watching me on a screen, on full screen. So there's AI tools out there that can help focus your eyes on the screen, make it look like that you're not reading from the script. And so I'm really bad at remembering a script. So I have to read it because I will continuously screw it up. Use AI to identify those times when you just did a terrible job and the times when you did a good job. So you can just keep recording. For example, a 6-minute video, I might record up to an hour and a half worth of content and finally get one of them right. And so AI can actually help you just kind of get rid of all the stuff that didn't sound good, which is really incredible. And then finally, when you do this, one of the cool things about AI is that it then also creates a transcript. It adds the subtitles. It also can help you clean up your audio. I'm sitting in my guest bedroom right now doing this recording with you. I have a really nice microphone, but if you have a headset on and you're listening to my training, you don't want any noise disruptions. So good AI tools can even remove all that sound for you, and you don't have to think about it. You just press a button. So all of these things are what saved me a tremendous amount of time. Um, there's one more piece because you asked what else makes 70%. So I'll share that
Mhm.
with you as well. And that is creating quizzes and exercises. Now, earlier, Dan, I mentioned I write all the content myself, so it's authentic. So I've written the content, I've defined what it is, I've recorded it. So why not just have the AI create the quizzes and the exercises for me? There's a lot of work that goes into that, and then I can just edit them. It used to take me days to get those right because then I have to re-listen to what I said, pull out the important things, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know if this word's well. Guess what? I can prompt AI to do a really good job of that, and then I can do the cleanup. So yeah, with all of that, it has taken me, it's 70, I have a 70% time savings. And if we even look at like the example of what we did with GoSkills when I did my Microsoft project course, I think it was about 3.5 months for me to get it done. And it was done in a month here with you.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% about where you can find the time savings with AI tools. I've experienced some of that myself. You're seeing so many different platforms and applications now with
Hmm.
AI integrations, and some of them are fantastic, some of them not so much. But you have to try them out. You got to experiment and see what works for you. For instance, I edit with Camtasia. It's a great tool for screen capture, screencasts, and things like that. And they now have an integrated AI audio cleanup tool, which has
Hmm.
been unbelievably good. It's so
Hmm.
good. Huge time saver. I don't have to do the manual audio fixes hardly anymore at all. So there's a time savings there. But I encourage everyone who's watching to look at some of the tools that you're already using, see what AI integrations are in there, but then also like you were saying, Bill, look for things that can help you with the video, to help you with the writing, to help you with the prep, help you with scheduling, help you with writing the scripts, the quizzes, notes, exercises, all those things. I've tried those as well, and you're absolutely right. It's not just a thing that you push a button and it's done. It's all about collaboration with the tool.
Hmm.
I think of the AI tools that I have as partners that I use are almost like contractors. I say, here's the task that I need, and it does it, but I'm really the one responsible for it. So I take that stuff, clean it up, just like you said, get it perfect. But speaking of that, and speaking of the writing, and you mentioned that too, that you want it to be authentic. Do you also, as part of the process, do you feed it writing samples or video samples or things to get the right tone and to get the right personality for yourself so that whatever it produces, it matches Bill instead of some, you know, generic AI expert on project management, or AI?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And absolutely, I do. So what I do is because I write a lot, which is good because now I have writing samples of my work, I can take those and upload those into what I guess we can term as a custom GPT. And in that custom GPT, and I even have a name for it, it's called BillBot. And BillBot knows how I write. And here's what's interesting about AI. I think it's interesting. It understands you and the context of your words in a way that is really interesting. It's not just saying, oh, here is a structure that Bill writes in. It's not just saying, here's kind of the tone, it's fun, it's upbeat. It actually knows at a deep and understandable level, like how I want to communicate to my audience. And so if I ask it to take these writing samples and recognize how I write, I could actually get a 4-page description of how I write, and I don't even know if I could do that, right? It just knows more about the world than I do, and it helps with that. So yes, when I go and I start working on content, again, I always write first myself, and then I ask it to run it through BillBot and help me with whatever I'm doing, whether it's creating an exercise, writing content. Hey, just do a gut check because sometimes we get busy. And surprise, surprise, sometimes we're emotional one day and we may not be on our game. And maybe what we're doing is we're writing something way too formal when you're really upbeat, or you're, just maybe coming across as a little bit cranky when, that's not how you communicate. That happens to me all the time. And I kind of like having the AI Billbot there because it can just do a little check for me and say, whoa, 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 Bill, this isn't how you do it. And also, can I recommend this? And so usually what I do is I will take what it gives me and I'll pick out the words and the phrases that I like the most, and I'll go ahead and edit with that. I know some people are more advanced and they're comfortable just copying and pasting things, but I feel also that I there's still an element that I like to make sure that I'm doing the writing myself. I don't want to lean on AI so much that ultimately it just becomes an automaton that writes for me.
All right, I love hearing about BillBot. I love that BillBot is keeping you on your toes, but also keeping you where you need to be. That's good to hear.
Mhm.
All right, so I want to kind of wrap up our conversation here with your thoughts on trends and tools as
Hmm.
we move into the future, and certainly everything is evolving at lightning pace. What are some of the trends that you're anticipating that you've got your eye on? What are some of the tools that you think could be really exciting? And then maybe some of the caveats too that you might be looking out for. And I'll prompt you with one. One tool that I've found very interesting is from 11 Labs, and that is the AI generated speech that it can produce. My wife actually does a lot of content creation herself, and she had an opportunity to create her own voice, to clone her voice, and it is really incredible. It's uncanny. It's really something. But then she had me edit a project using that voice, that narration that she did, just as an experiment to see how it would work. And it was very interesting. It wasn't perfect, but it was certainly something that we never thought that we would have,
Hmm.
maybe 5 years ago. Never thought that
Hmm.
that would be a thing, an option that we could have for production of whether it's, content that you're putting out on YouTube or if it's educational type content that we create. So, trends, tools, caveats. What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, so I think there's a few opportunities for, and this is specifically for learning and development, right? Using AI for learning and development. Maybe I'll just focus on that because there's a lot going on in the AI space right now. So let's say you're working for the learning and development area in your organization, and you have, let's say, a safety training program. And you want that safety training program to be updated regularly to make sure that it's the most up to date as possible. And if an event occurs, you want to change that again. Rescripting, re-editing, doing all the lessons and exercises, you could kind of automate that. And I think that's super interesting right there to be able to do that. So I would say that look into those capabilities for areas where you just need to get something across real quick. And the other nice thing about what's happening in AI, not only with these synthetic voices and synthetic video, is that it's easily translated to multiple languages. So let's say you have your a video that talks about your corporate objectives and your, any kind of policies that you have. You might want to just offer that to anyone that speaks any language in your organization around the world. Not only can you translate it, but you can dub it. And so these are all the things that I think are really going to be super useful for people in the L&D space specifically.
Yeah, I have to agree. Just being able to provide access to educational content to a broader audience, understanding that some of that content may exist in other languages, and knowing that you could still bring it to people. I know that 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the idea of having to provide something in multiple languages, what an undertaking that would
Mhm.
be. You'd have to find someone who speaks the language, you'd have to find someone to translate the thing, you'd have to find someone who could edit, but also understood the language as well.
Mhm.
And now some of these things could be push of a button type solutions. It's really wild and it's really exciting.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to one of the questions that you asked earlier, which is what are some of the concerns that people might have? I don't know if you noticed, Dan, but what I was just talking about here, creating videos, exercises, training material, production, audio, video, transcription, dubbing, all of that, I can still do in a month,
Hmm.
not 4 months. Okay, so now I'm more productive. I'm adding more value because I can deliver faster because AI is changing every day. And so this comes back to really think about what are the tools that you're using? What are the techniques that you're using? Can you take that to the next level with AI? And I bet you can. And I think there's really one good site because I think it would be cool to like give one website to go to if you're ever looking for something and you're like, wonder, can AI do that now? You may have heard of it, but you may not have it bookmarked. And if you haven't bookmarked it, bookmark this website. It's called there'sanaI.com. There's an AI for that is great because if you think that AI does not, if there isn't an app that uses AI that can help you move faster, then you are probably wrong at this point in time. There probably is, even maybe just a one niche thing that you spend a whole lot of time doing, and there's an AI for that. So I would recommend checking that site out.
Well,
Thank
that's a
you.
great suggestion, Bill. Bill, I want to thank you for being on the show. Everyone, this is Bill Raymond, author, consultant, podcaster. Look for Bill at billtalksai.com. You can also find Bill on LinkedIn as well.
Mhm.
And anything else, Bill? Anything else you want to tell people? You want to reveal that you're actually an AI speaking, or
No, I'm not an AI speaking, but I want to thank you again for having me on this podcast, Dan. And because we have a professional working relationship with GoSkills, I always enjoy working with you and the GoSkills team. And I would actually might as well make a plug for your Slack channel. I think if you're a learner, then you have access to the Slack channel, and I'm hanging out there giving away tips.
that's right, the L&D Explorers Slack channel. It's kind of a companion to the podcast, but there's a whole bunch of professionals over there talking about many things that would certainly benefit other course creators and L&D professionals as well. So thanks for the plug. Hey, we'll take it. Bill, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, Dan. Have a good day.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching this episode of the L&D Explorers Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and subscribe because more episodes are on the way. And no matter what your learning and development goals are, GoSkills can help. Click the link in the description to find out more. And thanks again for watching.